Let's discuss the truth about cheap online TEFL courses. What's wrong with them, why they might not help you get a job, and also why the way the industry is moving forward might make these courses even less valuable. Hi everyone, this is Alex from Ninja Teacher, and the reason I wanted to make this video today is because every month we get people reaching out to us that say something along the lines of, I'm TEFL certified and I've been looking for a job and I just can't get a job. It turns out that they've taken a cheap online TEFL course, and then we have to have a conversation with them, which is not fun for them, it's not fun for us, about why this kind of course is not helping them get a job. So maybe these people didn't spend too much money, but they did invest their money, their time and their effort, and they thought they were getting something which they weren't. And the reason I'm making this video is because nobody seems to address it. And if you're an experienced teacher, you probably already know what I'm going to say, but it's not your job to explain to other people about why these online TEFL courses aren't very helpful. And then there are all these influencers who are affiliates for these cheap online TEFL courses who are promoting them. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with being an affiliate for a product, the thing is that's made it seem like everybody is recommending these cheap courses. And just because lots of people are promoting it, it doesn't mean it's a good product. And what that's doing is creating a narrative of these extremely cheap courses that are now available on the market being good courses, or at least acceptable courses, which they aren't. And yes, at Ninja Teacher, we do offer TEFL courses, but my intention here is not to convince you to sign up for one of our courses. It's to point you in the right direction and make sure you're aware of all the realities. And even if you end up going for a competitor's course, as long as it's a good one, I'll be happy, because you need to have the fundamental skills to succeed, and some of these courses are just not going to give you that. I've met loads of people in Asia over the years who watched some of our videos, took all the free advice, applied it themselves, did their own thing, and went off and did it by themselves, never signed up for one of our programs. And still, that made me happy to see that people were actually successful and were able to do that.
3 years ago, before I actually came to Vietnam, that's when I actually started watching Ninja Teacher, and that's when I actually it was one of the reasons as to why I came. You know, you kind of inspired me, and the amount of information that you give, I think, is more than any other channel that I've seen before. So yeah, we just literally bumped into each other.
So I want to give people the best advice possible, because I'd rather see people succeed than not succeed. Okay, so let's get into the issues with these online TEFL courses. So first of all, I would say there's different categories of courses. Typically what you'll see is online TEFL courses in the range from about $200 to maybe $500. And then you'll see in-person 4-week intensive in-person courses for about $1,200 to $2,000. And then you might see some kind of combined courses which have the online components and the in-person components, or are fully online courses but have live training online. And usually this is going to be more like $800 to $1,000. And then lastly, over the last few years, we've seen the rise of these cheap Groupon courses, which are like $20 to $30 online. So that's a broad breakdown of the prices you'll see, and naturally you're going to get more features in some than in others. So let's talk about those and which are the most important, and which of these courses have them and which don't. And obviously you're going to get a lot of variation in the quality, even at these different price ranges. And not everything is quite as clear-cut as just a more expensive course is going to be better. So first up, with online courses, most of them, even in this price range of $200 to $500, we're not even talking about these super cheap $20 courses, don't have a lot of the features that really you should be looking for in an online TEFL course, a TEFL course in general. So while I'd love to say it's only these like $20 to $30 courses that aren't great, a lot of the ones in that higher price range, the higher price range of $200 to $500, you should really look carefully to see if they include a lot of these things, because not all of them do. In fact, many don't. So that might not seem cheap to you, but a lot of these basically fall into a similar category, although some are better than others. So let me get into the actual things that I'm talking about here. Okay, so the first one is the quality of the content, and a lot of the ultimate cheap ones are basically 100% just text. I've bought a few of them just to look at them, and they're pretty bad. You know, you're just going through a bunch of text that you could search online and find all that information online if you wanted to. So the quality of the content, so has it got video content? Does it have real examples of teaching that's video recorded? If it's got a lot of video content, then you can actually see how things are done. And that's way, way better than a text-based course. I would say that's number one. If it doesn't, I would just probably disregard it completely. Then next up is assessment of knowledge and understanding. So again, on the far end, you've got the super cheap ones which have basically no assessment. And assessment is important because it helps you to make sure that you know what you are learning. You know, if you don't have anyone asking you for an answer, you might just passively go through it. And it's important so that you actually have the knowledge, you know, so employers know that you are capable of knowing the foundational skills. And this can be done in a lot of ways. You can have tests, quizzes, assignments, submissions, and grading. And I would say most of the courses in this $200 to $500 range typically have decent assessments, at least of your knowledge and understanding. Teaching skills, a different story. Then next up, there's feedback and assessment on your lesson plans. Now, it's essentially still assessment, but lesson plans are so important for teaching. You need to be able to put together a good lesson plan, and I think a lot of courses don't do this at all. They don't require you to submit lesson plans. They don't give you one-on-one feedback on lesson plans. And you know, it's not a surprise. How can you afford to employ a high-quality trainer who will give each and every person who signed up for a course good quality feedback on their lesson plans if it's a cheap course? Then that brings us to the third and most important, and that's practical teaching. Practical teaching ability that you get from the course, practical teaching hours, feedback on your practice, assessment on your teaching, anything and everything that actually gets you as much practical experience as possible. Now the crazy thing is most of these online TEFL courses in that $200 to $500 range don't include any kind of practical teaching. So what about the more expensive courses? Well, the ultimate one would be taking a 4-week in-person classroom training course. That gives you a lot of practical experience across the board over, 5 days a week in the classroom. Your trainer is likely going to get you up and teaching at any given opportunity. If you've got 10 to 15 classmates, you're going to get a lot of practical teaching in there. And if it's a really good one, it will actually give you practical teaching hours with real ESL learners, and then even more importantly, having a trainer come and observe your teaching, give you detailed notes and feedback. So the quality of training is going to vary from company to company, but you're getting a crash course for 4 weeks. So even if it's not the best course, you're still going to get a lot of practical training and hopefully feedback and observation on your teaching so that you can improve throughout that 4 weeks. As for the other category of sort of combined courses or online courses that have a practical online component, well, if it's got any extra practical teaching experience, that's a good thing. And then there are also these combined courses which have like 20 hours of practical teaching, which is you going in for a weekend with maybe like 10 other students who are on the course, and then you usually teach like one class to all your other fellow students who are acting as mock students, and you may get feedback on your teaching, which is good, but you're not getting 20 hours of practical teaching. You're getting 1 hour practical teaching, and then you're a mock student for all the other people. So just pay attention to what the practical hours are. Because this is so important, we try to include this in all our programs, even our online TEFL course. What we have people do is submit videos of themselves doing certain activities, and then we give feedback on those videos. We have 2 weekly live sessions every week so students can come on and practice their teaching and get feedback on their teaching. And we have lesson plan submissions, and then you get detailed feedback on your lesson plan submissions. So basically you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that a $20 course is not going to get you all of that stuff. There's just no way the economics of it work. And if you're looking at the price range of $200 to $500, just have a close look to see what the course really involves and includes. And that should give you a good starting place to look for a high quality TEFL course that will prepare you and get you those foundational skills that you need to get a job. Because information is just not enough anymore. You need the skills, you need a transformation from not being able to teach to being able to teach in order for schools and companies to see that you are capable and you can actually at least start off with the foundational skills. You can always build on those. It's all about getting your foot in the door, right? But if you get your foot in the door of a untrustworthy or average school, then that's your first year of teaching with a less good school, when if you put a little bit more investment in the beginning, you could potentially get a much better job to start with. And just think about university education. Now, I don't think it's perfect, but you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars usually to get a degree. And that's because there's a lot of these things involved that I've been talking about. You study a degree to start working in a field, so why should it be different with a TEFL certification to start teaching in a new field? And do you really think you could get a degree for $10 or even, $500? So what about online teaching, you may ask? And I think this is part of the reason why these cheap online TEFL courses, especially the very cheap ones, were able to exist and started up in the first place. Is a lot of these online teaching companies were asking for a TEFL certification, and then it became clear that they had their own style of teaching on their platform, and so they would accept these extremely cheap certifications. Now, however, we're seeing the online teaching industry up in turmoil because of the schools in China no longer employing foreigners outside of the country. I made a whole video on that if you want to go watch it. But with tens of thousands of people potentially out of work now, people are looking for jobs with other companies, the pay seems to be lower. And I think what we're going to see moving forward is either platforms for online teaching are going to be very automated. So you kind of just show up and you follow the script, the software that they have, and the rate that you get paid for this is going to go down significantly. So because it's so automated, they don't need necessarily highly qualified teachers to teach those kinds of classes. So they're not going to pay particularly well for that. It'll kind of be like the McDonald's approach to online teaching. Everything's automated and not very high skilled labor coming in at a cheap cost. And then on the other hand, I think we're going to see more online teaching companies that value highly skilled teachers and pay them better, which, with sticking with the example, would be more like, a high quality restaurant with a skilled chef. There's so much up in the air about the online teaching market that I don't want to speculate about that too much. But if you're doing one of those jobs where everything is so automated anyway, then you don't even really need to be taking a TEFL certification. So it's kind of been just a box to tick for a lot of these companies, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's really any need for a TEFL if you're doing that kind of teaching. So we'll see what happens with the online teaching industry, but if anything's clear, it's that the market is a lot more competitive now. So at the very least, having a better quality TEFL certification and having the skills to do a good demonstration class, because that's how a lot of these companies hire. You have to record a demo class. So if you know how to put together a good demo class, that's going to make you stand out quite a bit. And then of course there's in-person jobs, and I think post-COVID we're going to see a huge demand for English teachers in countries like here in Vietnam. A lot of teachers have left during COVID. Schools are going to be looking for teachers that are capable. So I think we've seen a lot of schools in our network here that have just become totally frustrated by how bad teachers are who've just taken an online TEFL course. And even the less established schools are wising up to the fact that just because a teacher has a TEFL certification doesn't mean they've taken a good course that's made them a good teacher. And if you've got the time now and you're waiting for the situation to improve in different countries before you go teach abroad, sure, take an online TEFL certification, but look for one that covers a lot of these points that I've talked about in this video. And then there's always the option to upgrade to some kind of in-person crash course in different countries like the ones we offer. Anyway, I hope this video helped. So subscribe if you want more videos about teaching English, life abroad, and all of that stuff. And I'll speak to you soon in a new video. Peace.